that doesn't mean that I couldn't have revised and changed what my goals were, as the market shifted. So I think you have a small kind of thin line of you don't shift based off of circumstances if your consistency is not already there.
Hey guys, welcome back to Real Estateable, your go-to podcast for raw, real, and relevant information in the real estate world. It's a new year, new you, and we are talking about having a positive mindset, a growth mindset, and some tips and tricks that you can take away going into 2024.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about keeping yourself focused and consistent to drive the results that you're looking for in this year, 2024 being what we think can be your best year yet. So let's give it a listen. So I think right now I'm getting filled with my algorithm is just full of motivational, super powerful quotes. And I came across something today I shared with Ashlee. I'm going to share with you guys too. And it said, the gap between the life that you want and the life that you are living is called mindset, focus, and consistency. And how true is that? Because honestly, we can make 2024 anything that we want it to be, but we have to stay focused. We have to keep the right mindset, and we absolutely have to be consistent.
Yes. She sent that to me this morning, and I'm like, man, kind of lights a fire under you to get going and get the job done. One of the quotes that I read today was, what would you do if you couldn't fail? Like what opportunities are you missing because you're afraid? Don't let the fear paralyze you.
Yeah. And I think that it is so overwhelming going into this new year. Like I feel almost kind of like a take your breath away. Like I got to do this. Like I have to make this happen. I have to make this work. And I know that we all know we can do it. It's literally putting in the steps to make it happen. And I think that just sitting back and getting over the fear, the anxiety, all of those things that would prevent you from being the best that you can be. So many different things. I'm like, I know why so much of the positive is following me right now. I need that. I need to hear that.
Yes. I think too, just going into the new year, it's hard to even just get back into the swing of things. I mean, over the holidays, I'm not even going to lie. I actually took time off, and it was really nice to just like be present with my family, not being overloaded with calls and texts and emails and all of the things. I probably could have worked more, but honestly, I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And my kids went back to school sooner than Ashley's kids went back to school. And she's like, "Hey, how was it?" And I'm like, "It's fine."
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm like, I was struggling to get out of bed, and I am going to be in a world of hurt.
And my eyes could not even stay open. I feel you. And I think that like this year, we all had the opportunity to be able to disconnect more than we typically would. And getting back into the, like kind of turning that switch back on. It is difficult for sure. Like
Yeah.
name it what it is difficult. But I also think that if you don't take the momentum and the energy that the universe is just spitting at you right now, if you don't take that, absorb that, and then just catapult yourself, I think that you're going to sit kind of in that same rut. You have to be motivated. And I think that if this is the industry that you're meant to be in, then you've got to give it your all. You have to go out the gate screaming. You have to be running towards that endless pursuit of your goals. Everything that you did to prepare to close out 2023, to start 2024, what is it that you're going to actually start to take action items on today?
Okay. So one way that you can start your new year off right is I'm assuming you've already come up with your goals. Maybe you have a GCI that you're trying to reach, or you're trying to sell X amount of homes. Whatever that goal may be. It could be fitness, it could be whatever it is. Put those where you can see them. So whether you do a vision board or you have a whiteboard where you're marking down how many houses you've sold, whatever it is, have that where you can see it every day, because that's going to make a huge difference. When you are looking at it and it's constantly in your face, you're going to be like, man, I didn't sell a house this month. I didn't show any buyers. I didn't have any listing appointments. That's going to light a fire under you, because you're going to see in your face every day that you're not working towards those goals.
Well, and I don't necessarily love the idea of like breaking down because we focus on families that we can serve.
Mm-hmm.
So right, so it's not a GCI, it's not a numbers, but it's people that we can serve. And so I don't love the concept of breaking that down into 4 quarters or 12 months, etc. But I think that you have to. Like,
Yeah.
I don't love the idea because I'm like, well, shoot, in August I'm going to sell 10 houses. In February I'm going to sell one, and that's still going to get me on track for my goal. But I think that if you do not have a consistent approach, that needle is moving at a consistent rate, then I think that you're probably going to run more of a roller coaster concept of like the highs and the lows of consistent activity with the results or inconsistent activity with the results being an up and down. So for me this year, I have a year goal, and that is divided into 12 months for me. So yes, I'm not going to hit that every single month, but I'm going to know where I'm at plus or minus through the entire year. So that's something different for me, having that written down, like you said, the consistent daily reminder, reviewing that, having it at the top of my checklist, having it in my agenda, my game plan, my home screen on my phone, etc. Just a constant reminder of like how am I measuring up to what I have set as something that's important for me. The goal is important for me.
Well, and I think too, to start with proper goal setting, you have to figure out, based on what you sold last year and what your goals were there, and build from that. But I also think, when you are setting a goal, I want to lose 100 pounds this year. Okay, well, let's break it down by month. Let's set small, achievable goals that you can accomplish every week. Maybe it's every day, maybe it's every month, but just breaking it down to where it doesn't seem like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to sell 50 homes. That's too many. I'm never going to get there. Okay, well, that's what? I don't even know. I'm not good at math. We'll say 60. It's 5 a month. Okay. Um, but just bringing it down to where you can figure it out, and not get so like depressed about not meeting your goals,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think if you keep a focus too on, those goals are coming from appointments. So focus on making appointments, focus on the action items, even like a daily checklist of like, these are the things I should be doing daily.
Mhm.
I think the more that you can be doing that, even if like, this past year, I didn't meet my goal. I came out of 2022 and I was like 1,000,000 houses. I'm
Yeah.
so stoked and going to do it. And then even though we knew the possibility of shift was coming, but that doesn't mean that I couldn't have revised and changed what my goals were, as the market shifted. So I think you have a small kind of thin line of, you don't shift based off of circumstances if your consistency is not already there.
Mhm.
I can't be like, oh, well, I'm not putting in the work, so I'm not hitting my goals. So I'm going to kind of shift my mindset, shift my goals. Okay, now it's in a more obtainable
Yeah.
location, or a attainable goal. And so I think that this year I've held back a little bit, and I'm always like, okay, well, I can increase that. But I'm looking at this now and going, okay, daily, weekly, there's 52 months, or there's 52 Mondays in a year, 52 opportunities to reset this over and over again. What is the consistency that I should be able to make appointments and hit a goal based off of that?
And making appointments doesn't have to be a buyer appointment, a listing appointment. You could do coffee dates, you can do play dates, you can do things like that where you're still making those connections, because the connection, they're going to think of you when it comes to real estate if they're talking to somebody else. So don't always just think that it has to be real estate related. It's just making those connections. Another thing that I find helpful, especially being on a team, is I have the accountability. I have 7 people that I have who can hold me accountable. You only need one. So if you can find someone in your office, if you can, your spouse or whoever it is, find someone who's going to hold you accountable and not BS you, right? I don't want to go to Tiffany and be like, "Hey, Tiff, you know what? I didn't make my calls today because I just took a nap." And if she's just like, "Okay, cool, whatever." Like, that's not going to help me. I need someone who's going to be like, "No, you should have went to bed earlier last
You
night."
need a shaming accountability.
Well, I guess that's what works for me.
Yeah.
If you want someone to pat you on the back when you don't do your job, then
That's
I don't
just
know.
not
That's not,
accountability, though.
yeah,
It's not
exactly.
accountability.
I want someone who's going to keep it real with me and say, "Hey, maybe this one time it's okay, but don't continue this down this path." which also leads you into tracking and measuring what you're doing. If you have been in the business for a while or you're brand new, tracking is going to be everything. You don't want to waste money. You don't want to waste time on doing things that aren't yielding any results.
Yeah. And I think going back to accountability too, if you suck at that, like if you suck at like being actually able to follow through, time block, actually consistently do the activity, don't forget the power of literally just working side by side with somebody. So it doesn't have to be someone that's like literally going, "Hey, have you done this, 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 and this?" But have you actually tried to go, "Okay, I have a time block, and yeah, we might be working on completely different things, but sitting down and doing that with someone, the power of being in the presence of someone else to get your daily goals done. I think that that's another really great way that you can look at accountability, where it's not like going, "Hey, check on me and make sure that this happens," versus "Let's make it happen together." The tracking, that could be something too, that you're coming out of there and you're tracking, you're showing kind of that accountability side of things, that to make sure things are actually completed.
Yeah, and also, I mean, sometimes again, we're on a team of 7, and so when we're all in the office, it's kind of hard to work because we're chatting about the kids or, the weekend, and sometimes it is hard to be focused, but if you can find that one spot with the one person to hold you accountable, that's where you're gonna get a lot of work done, and it's good to have somebody to just bounce ideas off because, again, we're not all in competition. You can help each other out, even if you're in the same market.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think any combination of that is going to help you move that needle for certain.
Yeah. Another interesting quote is opportunities aren't lost, they go to someone else.
They
That's
sure
like
do.
that's like a stab to the gut.
It's it is like always a rattle you awake when you hear or see, like, you see a sign in the yard, or you hear that you didn't have an opportunity simply because you didn't follow up. Like, I'm kind of like, want to kind of puke thinking about that. Oh, it's the worst in sales. It is the worst. But oh my gosh, every single flipping time that that has happened, it has been because of me. Every
Mhm.
single time. It has been because I had a busy month and I wasn't consistent with follow up. It was because someone asked me to do something when I was on the go and I never finished and followed up on that. Every single time that that happens and those opportunities go to someone else, I am the problem. Every time.
It's you.
Yes,
Hi.
it is me.
Yeah.
So that even makes, but for me, okay, I that happens. Catch me accountable for the next consistent time length
Mhm.
of like actually going, okay, I'm not letting anyone else slip through the cracks. It's crazy because I think that you can get into such a rhythm where you're like almost like people will automatically want to do
Yeah.
business with me. Like they're automatic, like, do you see how great I am? Like they're not going to just skip over presenting that. They're not going to just wait 77 check-ins before they check with someone else. I'm like, get over it. Get over
Yeah.
yourself. No way.
Yeah.
Ah,
Well, I also just think that that goes back to, having your goal, knowing your plan, knowing what you're doing every day, and whether that's the dreaded word of time blocking, having that dedicated time where you can follow up so people aren't slipping through the cracks. That's a great way where your CRM can come into play. If you've been in the business, you might have an assistant who can follow up in your CRM for you. So there's different things, where you can put into place, but you have to start with knowing what direction, knowing what you're wanting to do, knowing your goals, and kind of executing those.
well, and I also think that opportunities are not necessarily just follow up, right? So
Hmm.
we have way more opportunities than just the follow up. Maybe or maybe not. We will not hold myself accountable if this just recently happened to me, that I lost an opportunity that I did not, actually show up to the plate for. But I think that opportunities are so many different things. We talk about all kinds of prospecting ideas. And so those opportunities are not lost because someone is doing them. Someone is making the cold calls. Someone's doing the open houses, door knocking, the consistent community events, the different things, volunteering in your communities, all of those things. Someone is doing them. Someone is getting opportunities off of that. So I don't want you to sit there and say, well, I have 10 people and I
Hmm.
consistently follow up with them and there is no through the cracks and there's no any of those. Okay, great. but there is opportunities that you should be going after, and those are lost and going to someone else if you're not doing them.
Yes. If your pipeline is empty, you need to prospect more.
Yeah.
Do you know where your next deal is coming from? If you don't, you need to prospect.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we have so many great episodes on prospecting. We're going to bringing you some more really great ideas going into this year too. But I think that if you think that you're out of prospecting ideas, even not just with our podcast, there's so many great professionals in this industry, so many different resources that you can virtually be, following people, YouTube, podcasts, etc. But what is your plan for this year for getting in front of different conventions, conferences? What continuing education are you taking? What are the things that you're doing to learn to get bigger and better in 2024? You need to have a game plan mapped out for that so that you can be budgeting time, and being able to have that be poured back into you as well. So let's just talk about some really great hidden ideas. Like, what are some rapid fire ideas that we can be doing right
Yes.
now?
One thing you can do right now is scroll to the very bottom of your text messages. Doesn't matter how old it is, and see who were you talking to 30, 60 days ago, 6 months, whatever it was, and check back in with that person. I do this all the time. I'm like, who is this random number? What is this random text? Oh, they're looking for a house in the spring. Maybe I should follow up because they're going to start looking now. That is like one of my favorite things to do because I don't ever really delete those. They're just scrolled at the bottom, just dying.
Well, and I think that's the thing too. It's like if you did not take action because you were on the go because text messages are so temporal. I think that that's a really great thing to clean that up. But I also learned from a fellow realtor that's in our market. She would close out her day. And she's like, I don't care if this was at midnight. If I did not get to the end of the day, I would make sure I had no text messages unread and unanswered. I would make sure there was no phone calls, no missed calls, no voicemails, that my inbox was completely cleared out. Just everything would be completely handled by the end of the day. And she said, if it was midnight and I saw a text message that I somehow did not answer at 4 p.m., she would follow up with an email like, I'm so sorry. It's too late to text you, but I wanted to connect by email and I'll get with you first thing in the morning. She would basically set a to-do for first thing out the gate the next day.
Who is this person? Is it me? It's not me. I'm like curious. I'm like, who? You'll have to tell me later, but
yes,
I want to be that person.
Well, I think that that's so easy because I think that there's so many things, and that for me is where I drop the ball. Like that is for me, my phone is constantly ringing. I have text messages out the wazoo. I'm good with email, but for me, that is almost like a anxiety tick of mine.
Yeah.
The text messages, I'm like, I can't get a hold of that, but I can absolutely, there is satisfaction in swiping, deleting those junk emails. So I'm like, I can do that. But I think that having a consistent before, your head hits the pillow, 15 minutes to close out your day, it doesn't seem so overwhelming because I'm like, to scroll to the bottom of my text messages of the pit of 1992. Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Well, and the other thing too, though, it is kind of refreshing because a lot of those text messages I'll find out are like a showing confirmation, feedback I gave to another agent, or a combo code, or whatever it is. It is truly just junk that never got deleted. So it's kind of nice to just like refresh that. I do like what you're saying about the text messages. One thing that I do is if I read a text and I can't get back to it, I try to mark it as unread so that I know I can go back to it later and it sometimes doesn't get lost.
Yeah.
But that would be my trick.
Well, and I think even if you're not doing like every single day, but you're keeping more of a consistent close out your day kind of mindset, I think that can help you not feel so overwhelmed. We had an agent that worked with us on team, and he would have like more than 1,000 unread text messages.
No, he muted our group text.
Oh yeah,
remember?
No, that was the day he got eliminated.
No, no, he stuck around for a long time after that. But yeah, he was like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's on the group text is on mute, and we're like, dude, this is important information.
This is our life bread. But he would have that meant I'm like, I could not, like, I literally couldn't sleep at night, but I can sleep with like 50 or less, 50 or less unread easily. But like you said, those are a lot of junk, etc. So just whatever it is for you to make sure that you are, going through, making sure your old text messages, what kind of business is lying in there that you did not finish out, but then consistently through 2024, how do you make sure that that doesn't happen? Because those people that are the spring buyers that, you know, you gave for the example, they should already be into some type of pipeline,
Yep.
CRM, spreadsheet, etc. They shouldn't be lost in a text message. So yes, use this as a prospecting tool. Go back through, make sure you clean this completely out. But then what are you going to do to make sure that you don't get to December and you're like, oh, that January
Mm-hmm.
buyer that texted me while I was picking up kids, driving, heading to a closing, and then I had showings all night. Yeah,
Yeah.
lost.
Well, and now's the perfect time to do it. We keep saying, it's the, in December or November, it's the perfect time to get addresses and things like that. Well, if
Hmm.
you have an old text message that you haven't followed up with a lead, hey Tiffany, just wanted to wish you a happy new year. If buying a home is one of your goals this year, I'm still happy to help you. How can I help? Whatever it is. But you have a happy new year. You
Yeah.
have a reason to reach out other than feeling and being salesy.
Yep. For sure. For sure.
I also think this year is going to be big on monetizing the leads you already have. So I sometimes I guess I would struggle asking for business. Like asking past clients or asking people that I'm working with. I try to put that in a handwritten note typically where I'm like, "Hey, if you know of anyone moving, I'd be happy to help." Um, but I did notice a difference. One of the home inspectors here, he texted me one day and it was just a link to his Google basically saying like leave me a review. And he just put a smiley face. Well, a week went by. I never left the review. I love them to death. He sent me another text message, same thing with a smiley face. And I'm like, dang, you know what? I really need to do that. I need to do that review. And I left him a review. And then I'm like, I need to do that for my own business.
Yeah.
And in the past like week or 10 days, I've gotten 3 reviews just by asking. And it's amazing what opportunities and what things you can get done by asking.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a super simple one. And I also think that going into like our client events, our community events that we're with clients, one of the events that I was at in the fourth quarter of last year, someone was talking about basically that we should not be professional party planners. Like
Mhm.
that's not the purpose of these events. And so for me, consistently making sure that those people who are touched through the event, whether they're here, whether they RSVP'd and didn't come, whether it's follow up that they weren't able to come, etc. Making sure that I'm using that to talk about business. You know,
Yeah.
what does that look like? I think that it's so easy to just be excited to be with the people that have poured into your business. But yes, that's very, very much an important part of that. But how are you asking for the business? And then even if you're like, okay, I'm not super comfortable with that. Like I'm giving to not receive. Okay, great. Why was it's yes, you're in sales. But you're giving without wanting to receive that. But I think that it goes to like what Ashley is saying. Ask for a review. There's no reason that those people should not be reviewing you for coming to a free anything that you're providing to them.
Well, and I think too, if you're providing the outstanding service, so if you think about a product or a restaurant, what restaurant are you recommending to everyone because you love it so much? Can you be that agent that they love you so much that they just can't stop talking about you? That's what you should be striving for because you might not even have to ask for a Google review if you're doing that good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that sometimes we forget that we are in the service industry and that if you flip the coin and say, would I hire me? Like looking at yourself, would I hire someone like me to represent me to buy or sell a home? And I think that that might be a gut check for you um, going into 2024.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Another idea too, we talked about old text messages, old emails. If you have a ton of open but not responded to, open but not read, etc., or open or not actually implemented, I think that that is another thing too. Make sure that you're cross-referencing that to your CRM. So your emails, your text messages, are those then into your CRM? Are they in your spreadsheet? Cross-reference all of your different databases to make sure that your text, your emails, your CRM, your spreadsheet, anything that you are actually doing follow-up out of has the consistent information
Mm-hmm.
in all 3 places or all 4 places. I also would add social media to that. So I have a VIP Facebook group that's a private group for anyone that has bought, sold, referred business at any point in time. And in that, I have an invitation that's coming up, and a husband tagged a wife, and it showed up like muted. And I was
Oh.
like, the wife's not on this page. And I'm like, how did I miss that the wife's not on the page? And I went in and I'm like, well, she must not have accepted the invitation. No, I went in and she had not ever been invited. And I'm like, how did I miss the cross reference that she was not invited? As far as that went. So that's another scrub through too, is like, okay, are these people consistently in every single direction? Social media, am I friends with all of the people that I have in my CRM? What kind of missing links do you need to actually clean up in 2024?
That's a good point to say, am I friends with everyone in my CRM? Because I just kind of scrubbed through my CRM and I like people I've never met, somebody who might have like filled out an online inquiry or something or searching homes on my website. Like I haven't added them. I don't know who they are. I've never met them. I've probably spoken to them or they might have ignored me. But I feel like yeah, to get in front of them on social, that's the best way to constantly be in somebody's face. I think I need to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's all really, really great ideas. I think that you need to be looking at 2024, make sure you're monetizing the value of these people.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like instead of you buying more, how can you monetize what you already have? That should be such a focus, and I mean, I feel like we beat this with, beat the nail over the head, so many different times.
Hmm.
I don't even know like what more we can be saying about that, but I think that you already have those people, and if you need to be prospecting more, to have more business opportunities, it has to be a focus, a weekly focus for you this year.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that when somebody says no, it just means not right now.
Yeah.
Especially for us in our market, people are moving every, between 2 to 4 years, 3 to 5 years, somewhere like that. So they might not be moving now, but they're going to be moving or their needs may change as like they might be downsizing, they might be upsizing with family, etc. So I think just knowing that no just is not right now. The timing might not be right.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like in your CRM, putting notes just to state that, like, hey, the follow up was that they are, basically just reassigned to something new in the community, and there's not going to be an opportunity for movement in X amount of time. So that way, when you go to follow up, hey, is that still the same thing? Is that still the same, the same stabilization idea? I'm trying not to use military words. I'm like hesitating to not use military words because we're such a strong military community, and that's a lot of our business. But just in general, I think about even like the administrators that I work with. They're here for a certain amount of time, and then they go to other corporate locations for their administrative jobs. But if they're doing really great, a lot of times they stay, even though my follow up is like, okay, they're going to be here for 3 years. Well, 3 years has come and gone for a lot of them because they're doing so great and they're thriving where they're at right now, too. So, in your CRM, when you're doing that follow up, the no, not right now should be noted. The why of the no, not right now should be noted. So that way you're making sure when you do that follow up, you're bringing up those things that were important to them. You're using that for the consistent follow up. And then, other part of this, too, with your CRM, I am doing such a better job for those people that have moved out of the area, because we know that referrals, that could be a whole lucrative side of your business, but you should be keeping up with those movements that are happening and what is happening for them. Are they stable where they've moved to? Those people are going to move to other, other cities, other states, etc. You should be that forever concept of an agent,
Hmm.
that the agent for life for them, that you need to be keeping up with all of that, even if it's not local to an actual sale. I mean, I would even say even more for that referral opportunity, because that is like quadrupling your time back.
Yeah.
Even though it's less money depending on the marketplace that they're going to. Such a great opportunity.
And don't assume that if you refer someone to a different state or city, that they're going to go back to the agent that they used to buy when they moved. Because that agent may not have follow up game. Like maybe you did all the interviews and they just, stopped at the closing table. You don't know. So just consider that person your client forever, you
Yeah.
know?
I always say too that, let me get you connected with a listing specialist. Let me get you connected with a buyer specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So that way there's opportunity. If it wasn't super great on the buy side, no matter what you did to kind of vet them, what is it that you can do to make sure that they have a good listing experience, and talk through, if they've had experience with you, talk through about finding similarities and interviewing options, and et cetera, for them. Really great points.
All right. So to kind of wrap this up, what would you say is something that you're going to do to try to keep your mindset focused and building your business for 2024?
I think the biggest thing for me is a non-negotiable time block. So I need to time block more of my days, my weeks, etc. I need to be looking at like the concept of the 52 weeks. And so for me, time blocking, but more time blocking, because I do have, two times a week that I am trying to get into a working hour. The other thing too is I need to be time blocking my contract maintenance,
Mhm.
and then I need to be I need to be time blocking my actual like follow up, because when I sit into the time block, when I roll into that, I'm like, okay, I got to checks and balance and make sure everything is ebb and flowing. Another thing that I want to implement too this year is my weekly check-ins with my clients that are actively looking or under contract waiting to close. And I want it to be where like I have a set day that I'm checking in with them.
Yeah.
So those, which is all time blocking. It's all consistency and scheduling, for sure. Just having more control over that.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm very data driven. I feel like if you have been listening for a while, that is my jam. And so I'm very much focused into the numbers and the data. It motivates me. Like, I mean, I come from a personal training, CrossFit mindset of like being the best, doing the best, lifting the most, running the fastest, doing the most pull ups, those kinds of things. And I think that kind of lights a fire under me where I'm like, hey, nobody went under contract this week. Why? What am I doing wrong? How do I fix that? And I think I just have to keep that motivation and that mindset of like being the best. That's how I operate, where I'm like, I need to be the best. I need to do the best. I need to do the most. I need to all the things. I think last year I kind of slipped off on that, but I think, new year is a perfect time to just get back on track, whether you've fallen off the wagon or you're jumping on. I think it's the perfect time.
Yeah, absolutely. So many different things. I think you guys just need to be making sure you're keeping the three pillars of mindset, focus, and consistency in your 52 weeks. You have all of the tools that you need. You have your goals set. You literally just have to show up for the industry that you are made for.
All right, guys, we talked about a ton of different things, a ton of different tools, tips, tricks that you guys can implement into your business. I think that, going into 2024, you are going to have to be the professional. You're going to have to be that expert to be able to continue to get business. Years past, it was a little different, but this year, I think you need to know your market. You've got to keep that mindset of where's the next deal coming from? Who can I talk to? What can I do? Where can I be to kind of keep that momentum going into 2024?
Yeah. And I think your focus and consistency is absolutely one of those things that you need to be pulling yourself back to on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. Consistency is undefeated. And so you know that you can make it happen if you just show up every single day, doing the things that you know you need to be doing over and over again. Those goals are going to be hit, those transactions, those families served, that all is going to come together. You just need to stay focused and consistent, and you got it. You got it in the bag.
All right, guys. Well, if you found this episode helpful, make sure you give it a download and a 5-star review. You can find us everywhere on social, and we will see you next time on Real Estateable.